Then you'll see that the nurse will come over, ask them if there's any injuries. Sometimes they'll answer, sometimes they won't. There he is. It's over. At the end of the debrief,
As I approached the cell, he did have the sheet tied to his neck.
explain what happened, go through the list of the officers, ask if everything's okay, are they okay, any injuries,
So I did have to open the
then they'll
officer
go
their cell,
and break their
and
reports.
Victor became immediately combative.
How many reports are we talking about?
Every one of them will write their own report that there may be a misconduct report, and then there'll be an extraordinary incident report where every one of them will write exactly what they did. If you cuffed them, what you did in your part, what you did in your part, what you did in your part, then the lieutenant will take all of those sheets, write a cover sheet, a timeline, and turn everything in. And incidentally, all these officers that were involved in this are being civilly sued by federally sued by the inmate.
Lawyers.
I know.
Which is why you want video.
Yes.
So when you said the extraction was over, it's not really over for these officers. They're being sued, it's currently pending.
Correct. For doing their job.
And the department's being sued.
I don't know about what the department's being done. I know they are.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go off the record, we're going to take a short break. Okay, we're back on the records. We prepare to call the next witnesses.
Yes.
Yes, at this point, we will call the correction officer, two presenters, Tim Walsh and Ron Burke.
Always the ham.
Please state your names for the record.
Tim Walsh.
Ron Gordon.
Tim, let's start with you first. Tim, when did you start your career with Department of Corrections?
I started with the Department of Corrections in May of 1994.
Okay. And prior to the Department of Corrections, did you have any military service?
Yes, I served in the United States Marine Corps for about a little over 6 years.
And what was the reason that you applied to become a correctional officer?
The reason I applied to be a corrections officer, well, that's kind of interesting. I applied to be a corrections officer in a weird way because people told me I wouldn't, and because it was a good career. I needed to make, at the time, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I had some debts, some college loans to pay on. So I needed to make an X amount of money. And the starting rate for a CO1, or COT at the time, was $9.36, and that beat my $7.35 that I needed to make, so it was an acceptable career at the time.
Did you have a background in criminal justice?
I was a criminal justice major for 2 years.
And where was that at?
King's College.
King's College in Wilkes-Barre,
Wilkes-Barre,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Where did you start your career in the Department of Corrections?
At SCI Mahanoy.
And how long were you at SCI Mahanoy?
I worked at SCI Mahanoy for about 4 years, and pretty much was content on staying at SCI Mahanoy. And then a new prison was opening up, but it was rumored to be private at the time. So they were trying to recruit people, but nobody was trying to go to a private prison because we were worried about salaries and things like that, whether or not you're going to keep your job. Once that rumor got squashed, I transferred down to SCI Chester.
When you transferred down to SCI Chester, did that open any opportunities for you to get a promotion?
Well, it absolutely did. I had taken the test. You take a test for the CO2 promotion. I had taken that when I was at SCI Mahanoy, but it was a new place when I started, and even being new, rather large hiring groups, I was in the top 100, maybe even the top 50 if I remember correctly, but there was still quite a few people in front of me. So I had a score, civil service score, and I was in the top 16. I mean, we opened the place at SCI Chester, so obviously I had a score I got to.
Compare that to SCI Mahanoy. Well, did you take the test while you were at Mahanoy?
Yes, I did take the test while I was at Mahanoy.
And were there, how many sergeant's positions? I mean, why didn't you get a sergeant's position at Mahanoy?
Because they were already taken.
Okay.
And at the time, I had like 4 years in at the time, and most of our, well, then now, sergeants have climbed up the ranks. Okay.
Explain to me why it was easier to get promoted to sergeant at Chester versus Mahanoy.
Because it was new, obviously, and if there's roughly 25, and I think it's a safe guess to say there's at least 25 sergeant positions in just about every institution. Well, there was nobody in those builds when I first got there, so being part of the first 16 and having a score, I was actually ended up in the top 7 at the time.
So because it was a new facility, there were promotional opportunities that are normally not available at other facilities?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. We talked about with CO1, we talked about what equipment they carry on a regular basis. The CO2, what type of equipment do you have available? Do you carry a weapon? Do you carry a club? What do you have?
Yeah, I carry a club and a weapon, please. No, you carry your mind, your intellect, if you will, your communication skills, and a radio. I often have people, meet people on the street, and even some of my close friends, they want to ask me, what kind of weapon do you carry? In the West End, I tell them, no, I carry a Motorola. And I'm not talking about a cell phone, because that would be against the policies, of course, but really, that's all we have is a radio and a whistle.
Okay. Describe to us what a sergeant, what a CO2 basically is in the Department of Corrections.
Basic description of CO2 in the Department of Corrections is all the stuff that Bob and Jason said earlier about working in different posts. I kind of coordinate all that, make sure it happens. Everything from reliefs to that very team that you saw going to a cell. Depending upon where you're at inside that institution, it's going to break down to where a sergeant is in charge of certain zones. Sooner or later, they're going to come through him. And then, obviously, the most important one, if you will, would be the control center, which is the main center.
And the control center, describe exactly what that is.
Well, like I said, it's the brains. Everything that goes on, the control center should know about. Should. In a perfect world, they know about everything prior to it happening. But obviously, when an incident happens, it has to be reported to control so that they can send the proper amount of response.
Do you have monitors in the control center? Do you have access to open and close doors? What physically do you have in the control center?
You do have monitors, you have control panels, you have, in most cases, video screens. Lots of them we have a CCTV post. Most of them then incorporated into the control center, but not all of them. And even if they're not all there, you still going to have some kind of video surveillance so that you can see.
And as a sergeant, if you're at, take for example, you're working in the control center, are you processing paperwork? I mean, what do you do?
Well, in general, you're in charge of radios, keys, equipment. If there's any releases for the day, that's inmates getting out, going back to the public. If there's inmates coming in, you have authorized temporary absences with ETAs, that's when the sheriff's come to take them to court. And all this needs to happen in a manner so that your counts are all correct and so that you don't obviously let the wrong person go. And then at the same time, you're making sure that the peace is kept inside the jail.
Now Chester is a new facility,
So to speak.
or newer. Is there air conditioning at Chester?
There is air conditioning at Chester. Like Bob said, when it works.
Okay. And describe a typical block situation that you would find at Chester.
Blocks are breaking down A, B, C, D, E, and F. And we're supposed to be prototypical, our staffing levels are based on prototypical, but in most prototypicals, they're spread out. We're stacked on top of each other. It's a high-rise, if you will. There's 2 towers. One's about 8 stories tall, the other one's about 6 stories tall. And they're broken down into pods, A, alpha, 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 bravo, 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 through the whole thing.
Okay. And so, SCI Chester is within the city of Chester. It's an urban setting,
Oh, absolutely.
and is that different than most of the facilities that you've experienced?
Yeah, most are out in the middle of nowhere, and some of them are scary to get to them, you know what I mean? You're really out there in the middle of nowhere. But at Chester, we like to say, we got planes, trains, and automobiles. And in some cases, boats too, because they got the Delaware River right back there. There's literally a casino, a length of a train track, right to our rear.
And Chester described, now let's talk about, you've heard the previous witnesses talk about the ratio. If you're a sergeant assigned to a block and you have CO1s assigned to that block, talk about how many inmates are in a typical block.
In a typical block, you
Compared to
have,
CO1s and 2s.
typical block, you have about 100 inmates with 1 CO. With the whole zone or the whole tower, you have to add that up a little bit. You're talking about 600 to 700 inmates and about 8 CO1s and 1 sergeant. And that's a usual breakdown for, I'd like to think, for most. So most sergeants have it around 10 COs they're going to be in charge of, including your activity sergeant.
Okay. And so what would the breakdown be per inmate per officer in a typical block? Would it be 100 to 1, 125 to 1?
At Chester, it's around 120.
Okay.
Unless you talk, we have a therapeutic community there too, and it's broken down a little bit more. But as far as the breakdown of COs and CO2s, it's still the same.
Now, you've worked in these blocks, you've worked in other places throughout the facility. You've worn the vest. What do you like the vest? What do you think about the vest?
Well, personally, I'd rather not wear it. It's just, it gets in the way. It truly gets in the way and it heats things up, even in the air.
In your experience in working with the DOC for the last 17, 18 years,
17.
do you think it provides you more protection, or what do you think the value of that vest is?
I think it makes it hotter and it makes it harder to crawl in and out of places, because obviously you're a bit lighter with that thing on, and you can't bend the same way. So it's just, it really gets in the way.
Now, you had said to me at one point, working in the zones is like being a fireman. What did you mean by that?
Because you're constantly putting out fires. And see, I get fires from all directions. I got fires from inmates because inmates don't want to listen to what the COs say. So they think that a sergeant's basically going to trump their request, because like Casey said earlier, it's they need, or they want. So then they're going to try and up the ante, go with the chain of command and kind of get the right answer, the mommy daddy game, if you will, from the sergeant. The sergeant's usual response is, what the CO want to. At the same time, you have your COs who might be complaining about the same thing, or there's an incident like one that we saw in the videotape. And then, of course, I've got the managers or the lieutenants and captains asking me to do things to make sure that the work's getting done. So yeah, I put out fires all day long.
How long have you been in the CO2 position?
Since March of '98.
Okay. And since you become a CO2, you wear stripes on your uniform?
Yes, I do.
All right. And since you've been wearing the stripes, how has that changed the attitude inmates towards you, other individuals towards you at the facility?
Inmates and officers alike, they expect more, and they will, I like to say, they put on their Sunday best. For example, when an inmate would go to speak to, say, a sergeant, he's going to act nicer than they would for a CO1. And I would imagine